so much. Have a great weekend.
Thanks,
all right, folks, coming up, media sympathy for Sam Bankman-Fried. It continues. It's going to blow your mind. This, as one of his top lieutenants, just pled guilty to election fraud. By the way, also going to fork over $1.5 billion. Meanwhile, the bank walk, it's starting to pick the pace up. Now, the guy who coined the term is with us. I want to ask if maybe we were just overconfident. After all, walk isn't the same as a run. Jim Bianco on deck. We'll be right back. With us now. Jim, I tried to go to commercial. You know, you're such a popular guest, I tried to squeeze in some extra cash before we got to you. So listen, so let's talk about this for a minute, right? You've got money. It's coming out of money, still coming out of these savings accounts, and it's going into money markets. Every week, the numbers are astounding. I guess soon we'll hit $6 trillion, some going into bonds. Meanwhile, unrealized losses are beginning to mount. I saw the FDIC quarterly report. The Bank Emergency Fund just added more than $300 million to the tally. That's over $100 billion. You know, and of course, you look at the stock chart. The stock chart of these stocks, they're starting to break down. You feel like you got another leg down that could retest the lows. So I know, again, some are saying, you know, those numbers aren't really a lot of money, Jim, in the grand scheme of things, maybe a drop in a bucket. But it feels like combined, there's something of a red flag to me.
No, they are definitely a red flag. You're right. The bank walk continues. Why would you keep your money in a bank account where it's earning you 0.5% when, here's my phone, you spend 2 minutes on your phone and you transfer it to a brokerage account and get 5.5% in a money market fund? So money deposits continue to leave the banks. Yeah, you might call it a drop in the bucket, but banks have deposit ratios they have to adhere to in order to hand out loans. And the primary purpose of a bank, according to the Federal Reserve, is to hand out loans to feed the economy. And if they're being impaired because money's leaving, because rates, market-based rates are much higher than deposit rates, then we're going to have a problem with lending. And I think we are, because if you look at the bankruptcy numbers, they're up. And they usually lag what's happening with banks. Banks are not lending as much, and now companies are finding it harder to get loans, and bankruptcies are up. That's not a coincidence.
Let's talk about these bankruptcies for a moment. It feels like the names are becoming, you know, we're starting to know some of these names. In a little while, I'll be talking about Mitchell, the Mitchell Gold, the furniture store that I thought it was actually revolutionizing or bringing back big-time furniture manufacturing in this country. When does the general media get excited about this? So when should we start to worry about this? The numbers right now seem astounding, but again, we're getting a collective yawn from most people.
Yeah, you know, I hate, yes, you're right. And they are starting to become more household names. Yellow, the big trucking company, was the big highlight that went bankrupt in, I guess, low light if it's a bankruptcy in August. But I think, unfortunately, Charles, we're a stock market world. If we say that bankruptcies are up and there's problems, and then people look over at the S&P and it's not going down, they don't really care. They'll only care when the market starts going down. That's kind of the way we work. But leaving that aside, these bankruptcy numbers should be a bit of a concern because they are going higher. They are the credit event that we were worried about when the bank walk started because of the pullback in lending.
I want to switch gears. You know, you've been a major advocate of the digital revolution. And even though I don't consider Sam Bankman-Fried a true, authentic digital revolution crypto story, I think it's someone who used crypto to steal money from people by design out the gate. I am very concerned. So one of the top lieutenants pled guilty, election tampering or fraud of that nature. It's going to give up $1.5 billion. But the same charge was dropped or not pursued when it came to Sam Bankman-Fried because of some sort of technicality. And, you know, I've got a list here. You know, Usual Wells, got to give them a shout out. They'll put out this amazing list of all the folks who, and our elected officials who've got money from this firm. It just stinks, man. It's just really crazy. I just wanted to get your thoughts on this as someone who's so protective of people investing, and particularly this new era, this new avenue, which can mean economic freedom for so many people, the ability for them to get away with this to a degree.
Yeah, I would say to a degree. To start with Sam Bankman-Fried, his bail's been revoked and he's in jail. And even though they've dropped some of the charges about, you know, election fraud or a campaign contribution fraud against him, he's got a whole host of other problems, and he can't even get out. He's in a Brooklyn prison right now as we speak.
Right.
Ryan Zalmi, the co-CEO who also gave money, Interesting, Charles, he gave money to a couple of Republicans, and he gets busted on election fraud. But Sam Bankman-Fried, who gave money to Democrats, they dropped the charge. But again, he's got bigger issues as well, too.
Sure.
So it's not like he's walking away from this.
Sure.
But it does, look like an unlevel playing field as to which way that they're going. As far as the larger crypto space goes, you're right. All new technologies have these kind of problems of hucksters and scam artists, and this space is no different. And once we start to clean the space out of these hucksters and scam artists, then we can start looking at it as a legitimate new technology as opposed to some kind of a gambling casino that we've been looking at it for the last couple of years.
And of course, as soon as we can get the New York Times to start writing these sympathetic articles about how sad it is for Sam Bankman-Fried to have bread, water, and peanut butter, so much for the life in jail. Hey, Jim, you're fantastic, my man. Great ending the week with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, folks, coming up, the Biden administration